Alright. Okay, ready to call it to order.
Okay, everybody, my name is Brenda Willett. I am the first assistant in the Kane County Public Defender's Office. I am stepping in for Rochelle Conant, who is out today. I've been here before, but as you know, not all that familiar with all of the terms. So I have the agenda, which I will run through. But if we can, first thing I would like to start with is congratulations to Lark Howard, who's been named our new associate judge beginning July 5th. So congratulations.
Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. We're so excited. But if we can go around and introduce yourselves, I've already started. So whoever wants to go next, Lark.
Lark Howard from the State's Attorney's Office.
I'm Vern Cheppy. I'm Vice Chair of the County Board.
Thank you. Latanya,
Latanya Hill, Director for Court Services.
Officer Majewski,
Eric Majewski, St. Charles Police, representing Kane County Chiefs of Police Association.
and it looks like we have Judge Parga here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra Parga. I'm one of the associate judges over at the Juvenile Justice Center.
Okay. First thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the April quarterly meeting. Any revisions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving those minutes? Everybody? Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, those minutes would be approved. The next thing is the JJC Chairman's Report. This is from April. There was an expenditure for personnel of $2,091.67. Year to date is $18,918.16. Moving on to old business, the updates on the 2022 priorities. The first one listed is the youth parent involvement. Julia was unable to present at Parent Council in April, but we'll plan to do that in June. This is the opportunity to connect with parents about the purpose of the Juvenile Justice Council. There's been another email vote, I think, distributed on student compensation, so everybody should get that. Regarding
Sorry, Brenda.
Go ahead, Julia.
Minor correction there.
Okay.
Just a recent update of the presentation. It won't happen until later this fall.
Okay, that's the youth parent one? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that update. Under law enforcement, as a follow-up to the discussion on juvenile justice jeopardy, FSA is no longer running it due to staffing limitations. The annual cost had been $500 a year for FSA. Restorative practices, Julia, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we're continuing to coordinate with School District U46. They have a training next week on the 14th and 15th. We've been able to pull in one trainer of the group of trainers that the Juvenile Justice Council provided funding for them to receive their certification to offer the training. And then West Aurora is letting us use one of their trainers to help fulfill this request as well. They have a group of trainers that they've also been able to get trained to offer the training in their district. So that one is taken care of. We have a couple more requests for later this summer and beginning of the school year. So trying to go through the training network, as I've kind of deemed it, of trainers that we've trained to see if anybody's available to assist with some of those requests. But so far, schedules are not lining up. So more to come on that, but that's where we're at with restorative practices.
Okay, great, thank you. And then for the 2023 priorities, the symposium was held. Does anybody have any comments or issues about the presentation or attendance that we need to talk about? Okay.
If I may really quick, I attended.
Okay.
You're talking about the speaker series?
Mhm.
I think the content was really good. I will be completely honest. I'm disappointed in the lack of attendance. I think the parties that could have gained a lot of information and learned some ways that we could potentially move forward were absent, but I'm proud of us for putting it on and offering the opportunity. And hopefully in the future, we'll have more attendance.
Well, good to hear that. I didn't get to attend. I had other things going on, but I had thought about it. There's an
Do you think-
email. I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Brenda. I was just
Okay.
curious, do we think there's anything that we could have done different as far as getting the numbers to attend? Do we feel like it just was a timing thing? I mean, because I think we promoted it, at least a month in advance.
I'm really not sure. I'm not sure how we promoted it, but I think one session, we might have had 7 people on it. So I really don't know what the disconnect was.
Okay, and regarding that, there's an email vote report. What's that, Julia? For the CPDU speaker series?
Yeah, there was a to provide CPDUs for anyone who was attending and wanted CPDUs. We had that. There's a fee associated with it, so that was approved via email.
Okay. Regarding restructure, there's nothing new to report that will reconvene this summer. Station adjustment work group convened to determine direction. It's noted that Jamie Mosser will be joining the next meeting in June. Regarding racial and ethnic disparities, the R/Ed work group, nothing new to report. They will reconvene in the summer. The IREJC statewide committee, the May meeting was being pushed back to June. The TTAS work group will be meeting at some point before. Under ADB, it says the work group will reconvene in the summer, continuing to work with Representative Hansen on a strategy to remove juveniles from the IDBA. And just an update on the 2024 grant that was submitted in April and waiting for contract / official approval. Any update on that, Julia? Just waiting on it.
Yeah, I just keep checking to see if we get our contract issued.
Okay. And then moving on to new business regarding site visit report. Something says it was distributed. What was that, Julia?
That was just a write-up that they do following our site visit, just based on kind of a summary of what we went through and then any recommendations that they have for us, which were pretty minimal from the report, but I didn't know if anybody had any reactions or questions or thoughts about what they included.
Okay, I don't think we're hearing any on that. The issue of ongoing virtual meetings, OMA allowed for virtual meetings under the pandemic. Sorry, need to discuss review implications of continued virtual meetings and maintaining compliance with OMA. There is a proposed legislation to change this, and that bill's available for anybody who wants to look it up and read it. Do we need to talk about that now, Julia?
Yeah, because that bill is at a standstill. There's not a lot of movement, and just in talking with Rochelle, and there was an article or some material that I found that said that basically it kind of goes back to how it was. So that may mean that we need to return to in-person meetings, which kind of flows into our next agenda item of the meeting frequency and schedule and all of that. So I think we do need to have a discussion if there's opinions, thoughts, or if there's a preference for me just to work with Rochelle and confirm that we need to go back to in-person and just return to how we were. We can also do that.
And let me just jump in. Next talks about for the meetings, to do it the same amount, to do it quarterly. Certainly the location, if it's going to be in person. It says here that Julia will send an email vote to approve meeting schedule once it's determined. So if you guys are the ones that, if you could give input on what you're thinking about how often the meetings should occur and I guess ultimately it's going to have to be decided if it's going to have to be in person. So anybody have any thoughts on that? How about how often the meetings occur? Do you think the way it's done now is okay, or it should be less? I got Lark shaking her head, yes.
Well, it's interesting, since I've been on this committee, I've yet to have an in-person meeting. And I think I've been on here now for a little over 2 years. So would we be more? Would it be more of a hindrance? Are we better off with Zoom meetings? I think those are all the things that need to be evaluated.
Yeah, and if I understand just from reading this, and Julia can correct me, the issue may be that it may be required to be in person.
As a public body, Open Meetings Act, that was only allowed under the emergency, the national emergency. So that has now been lifted. So that would mean that we potentially may have to go back in person.
So Julia, let me ask this, if you know, and I can certainly explore with Ms. Conant and let her know, does this have to be decided before the next meeting?
Yeah. Yep, it would need to be determined. So she's been looking into it. And like I said, I had sent her that material that I had found. I'm happy to send that out to the board as well, if you all want to think about it, or if you have objections or input otherwise. I think something else to keep in mind is, as if you may recall from our grant application, we're proposing some work with the Council of State Governments. And so I don't know if those conversations would be taking place at our monthly meetings, or if we keep them monthly, or if we would do them outside of that. So just a lot of things to consider and weigh in on. I'm certainly happy to kind of put out some considerations and throw it out in an email, but I figured if we're all together, it might be a time to talk about it too.
I think if we weren't looking to potentially get some of that technical assistance from the Council of State Governments, I would be proposing that maybe we go to once every other month or something, because it feels like lately our meetings are quick. It's pretty much just report outs of what the work groups are doing. And especially knowing that we have to move to in-person, that's going to be a barrier. I mean, people are coming from all over the county. We do it over the lunch hour. We've got a lot of court personnel in this meeting. So court runs long. Now you gotta, still get over to wherever that meeting is going to be. I think attendance is going to be more of an issue. However, since we're looking to include the Council for State Governments, I would hate to lose steam. So is it possible to maybe set them for once a month? But when we get started with that, maybe it goes to every other month when we're not active with them, you know what I mean? Or until we're active with them, then we actually comply with the month-to-month schedule. Those are just some of my thoughts off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea to start with it, at least proposed scheduled on a monthly basis. Everybody's happy to get the email canceling a meeting, but it's a lot harder to add it in.
Do we still want quarterly meetings with the entire council as it stands now?
I think that if we don't do quarterly meetings, we will lose those connections. And I think if we do it any more often than that, people won't come.
I agree.
Good. Okay, so I guess that kind of goes to, I know it's listed here that the next quarterly meeting will be determined. The next board of director meetings will still yet to be determined. So I think there's going to have to, at least through maybe email, be further discussion on this, so that can be determined before the next meeting. Anybody have any other updates they want to offer right now? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I'll make that motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Motion, meeting's adjourned.